Books presents an unabridged recording of The Day the Cowboys Quit by Elmer Kelton, narrated by Pete Bradbury and directed by Jeffrey Brick. This book is copyrighted 1972 and 1986 by Elmer Kelton. This recording is copyrighted 2008 by Recorded Books. The time is 1883. The place is the Texas Panhandle. Cowboys refuse to be stigmatized as drinkers and exploited by the wealthy cattle owners who don't pay livable wages. Those very same ranchers want to take away the cowboys' right to own cattle because this ownership, the ranchers believe, would lead to thieving. So in 1883, the dictum is set. If you're a cowboy, you can't own a cow. When rumors of such legislation travel from wagon to wagon, the cowboys decided to rally and fight for their rights. They gather together and strike. And now, the day the Cowboys quit.
Chapter 1. In later years, people often asked Hugh Hitchcock about the Canadian River Cowboy strike of 1883. If they were strangers, he looked them over carefully before he answered, and sometimes he didn't answer at all. He figured there was no way of explaining it to anyone who didn't understand the nature of the old-time cowboy. It irritated him like a prickly pear thorn embedded under his hide that some people seemed to think cowboys spent their time loping around aimlessly on horseback and firing their pistols. Many of the men he had known in the Texas Panhandle never owned a pistol, and probably half the cowboys between the Canadian and the Pecos couldn't have shot themselves in the foot if they had tried. What they did most in those days was work, from before they could see in the morning until they could no longer see in the evening. Those days, Hitch always said, a man proved himself with horsemanship. A rider a cut above average was looked up to, even by the sourest wagon cook. If a man's saddle didn't have a shine to it, they knew nothing good would come of him. Next to his way with a horse, the cowboy was proudest of his independence. He worked for other men, but they owned nothing of him except his time. He was a free soul. He could ride from the Rio Grande to the Powder River and seldom see a fence. He could start that ride with $5 in his pocket and have $3 left when he finished, if that was the way he wanted to travel. Money didn't rule him. The Canadian River region of Texas, then, was less than 10 years settled, the sandy-bottomed river cutting a deep, rough gash across the heart of that uplifted tableland known to the Spanish as Llano Estacado, the Staked Plains. It was a grand plateau, larger than some eastern states, a vast, treeless ocean of grass, often flat to the eye, but gently rolling when a man tested it in a wagon, finding himself alternately easing downward or putting forth extra effort to climb. A decade before, this prairie had teemed with grazing buffalo, fleet white-rumped antelope, and the roving packs of gray wolves which lived among them, pulling down the halt and the lame. Across this unmapped sunny land had roamed the Comanche and the Kiowa, brothers to the wolf. They had known its hidden watering places, its changing seasons, its hunger, its bounty, its angry storms, and its quiet peace. Now the buffalo were gone, and with them the Indian. White men's cattle by the hundreds of thousands had plodded and balled up the long trails from South Texas and down through the Raton Pass from Colorado, spreading out over these seemingly infinite miles of open grasslands, finding water in occasional creeks and streams fringed with cottonwood and hackberry and black walnut, almost the only timber from the eastern Caprock to the New Mexico breaks. Out in open country, wood was so rare that men gathered dry buffalo and cow chips for fuel wherever they found them, hoarding them in sagging cowhides lashed loosely beneath their wagon boxes. Now most of the plains grass was claimed by right of occupancy, and already the more observant cowboys could see that it grew less tall. Dust stirred easier now, a sign of overgrazing, because these great herds of longhorn cattle didn't migrate with the rains and the changing seasons, as had their wild and shaggy predecessors.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.